Greetings, Lore Seekers, and welcome back to the Lore Lord. Today we're diving into the depths of the void to explore one of the most mysterious and terrifying Space Marine chapters in the entire Imperium, the Carcharodons Astra, known throughout the galaxy as the Space Sharks, or simply the Pale Nomads. These are not your typical Space Marines. They emerge from the darkness between the stars like ancient predators, strike with surgical precision, and disappear back into the void before their enemies even understand what hit them. They are the Emperor's enforcers in the places where the light of the Astronomicon barely reaches, the silent guardians of the galaxy's most forgotten frontiers. But the Carcharodons are more than just another loyalist chapter with an exotic recruiting world and unique tactics. They represent one of the deepest mysteries in all of Space Marine lore, a chapter whose origins are so obscured that even they themselves may not fully understand their own history, a chapter whose leadership structure hints at connections to events and figures that predate the Imperium itself. Today, we'll explore the complete saga of the Carcharodons Astra, from their mysterious founding to their current operations in the galaxy's outer darkness. We'll examine the evidence for their possible connections to lost legions, investigate the rumors surrounding their enigmatic chapter master, and delve into the theories that suggest they may be living remnants of the Imperium's most carefully hidden secrets. This is the story of predators who hunt in the cold dark between the stars, of Space Marines who have become something both more and less than human, and of a chapter that may hold keys to understanding some of the 41st millennium's greatest mysteries. Origins in Shadow, the Forgotten Founding. The first mystery of the Carcharodons begins with their founding itself. Official Imperial records list them as a chapter of uncertain provenance, with founding dates that vary depending on which archive you consult. Some sources place their creation during the second founding, others suggest they emerged during later foundings, and still others hint that they predate the formal founding system entirely. This confusion isn't accidental neglect or bureaucratic error. The inconsistencies in the records appear to be deliberate obfuscation, suggesting that someone with considerable authority wanted the Carcharodons' true origins to remain hidden. The question is, why? The most commonly accepted theory is that the Carcharodons are a second founding successor chapter created from the remnants of one of the loyalist legions after the Horus Heresy. But which legion? The evidence is contradictory and often deliberately misleading. Gene seed mysteries. Analysis of Carcharodon gene seed has yielded frustratingly inconclusive results. Their genetic markers show signs of deterioration and mutation that could indicate extreme age, extensive time in the void, or deliberate modification. Some Imperial geneticists have suggested that their gene seed shows characteristics of multiple legions, as if it were somehow hybridized or reconstructed from different sources. The most intriguing aspect of their genetic analysis is what it doesn't show. The Carcharodons lack certain genetic markers that should be present in any normal Astartes lineage, while displaying others that shouldn't exist at all. This has led some scholars to theorize that they represent an experimental chapter, created using techniques or materials that were later deemed too dangerous or heretical to replicate. Perhaps most disturbing are the reports of Carcharodon Marines displaying abilities or characteristics that don't match any known gene seed lineage. Enhanced night vision beyond even normal Space Marine capabilities, resistance to void exposure that borders on the supernatural, and most notably, an almost supernatural ability to track and hunt their prey across interstellar distances. The Nomad Predation Fleet. What we know for certain is that the Carcharodons operate differently from virtually every other Space Marine chapter. Rather than maintaining a home world or fortress monastery, they exist as a nomad predation fleet, wandering the galaxy's outer reaches in a collection of ancient vessels that seem to predate the Imperium itself. Their fleet organization is unlike anything else in the Imperial Navy. Their ships are modified beyond recognition, optimized for long-term void operations and stealth rather than conventional warfare. The vessels themselves appear to be of disparate origins. Some clearly Imperial, others of unknown construction that predates current technological understanding. The flagship of their fleet is the Nicor, a vessel so ancient and modified that its original class is unrecognizable. Imperial naval analysts, who have had the rare opportunity to examine it, describe technology that shouldn't exist, materials that can't be replicated, and design philosophies that predate the Great Crusade itself. Life in the Outer Dark. One of the most striking aspects of the Carcharodons is their appearance. Extended life in the void has transformed them into something that barely resembles normal space marines. Their skin has become corpse pale from lack of natural sunlight. Their eyes have adapted to function in near total darkness, and their entire physiology has been altered by centuries of void exposure. But this isn't merely environmental adaptation. The changes run deeper than simple physical modification. Carcharodon Marines display behavioral patterns that suggest fundamental alterations to their psychology and social structure. They communicate more through gesture and scent than speech, operate with pack-hunting instincts that seem more animal than human, and demonstrate loyalty patterns that differ significantly from standard Space Marine conditioning. Most disturbing is their relationship with normal human populations. Where other Space Marines maintain at least the pretense of protecting humanity, the Carcharodons seem to view baseline humans as an entirely different species. They are not cruel or malicious, but their indifference to human concerns borders on the inhuman. Void warfare. Perfected. The Carcharodons have perfected forms of warfare that most Space Marines couldn't even attempt. They can operate in hard vacuum for extended periods without life support, navigate by instinct through areas of space where normal navigation fails, and coordinate attacks across multiple star systems with precision that defies explanation. Their preferred tactic is the Red Wake, a coordinated assault that begins with the elimination of all enemy communications and continues with systematic destruction of command structures, supply lines, and escape routes. By the time their enemies realize they're under attack, the Carcharodons have already sealed their fate. What makes these tactics particularly terrifying is their patience. The Carcharodons can stalk their prey for years, gathering intelligence and positioning themselves for the perfect strike. They view warfare not as a series of battles, but as extended hunts that may span decades. The tithe of flesh. Perhaps the most disturbing aspect of Carcharodon operations is their practice of taking a tithe from the worlds they assist. This isn't the normal recruitment of new Marines or requisition of supplies. It's something far more sinister. The Carcharodons claim the right to take individuals from populations they've aided, selecting according to criteria that they don't explain to Imperial authorities. These individuals disappear into the Carcharodon fleet and are never seen again. Some theorists suggest they're used for recruitment. Others believe they serve some unknown purpose in Carcharodon society. Most disturbing are reports that suggest the Carcharodons don't limit their tithe to suitable recruitment candidates. They take individuals of all ages and conditions, including some who could never serve as Space Marines. What happens to these people remains one of the chapter's darkest secrets. The Badab War, Emergence from Shadow. The Carcharodons' most significant appearance in recent Imperial history came during the Badab War, where they served as one of the loyalist chapters tasked with bringing the rebellious astral claws and their allies to heel. Their participation in this conflict provided the first detailed Imperial observations of their operations and capabilities. During the Badab War, the Carcharodons demonstrated tactical and strategic capabilities that impressed even veteran Imperial commanders. They operated with a level of coordination and effectiveness that suggested centuries of experience working together, despite their nomadic nature and lack of a central command structure. Most notably, they showed an understanding of siege warfare and boarding actions that seemed to come from direct experience rather than theoretical training. Their assault on the Astral Claw's strongholds was executed with a precision that suggested intimate knowledge of the defenders' capabilities and psychology. The Reaper Express. The Carcharodons' most famous action during the Badab War was their assault on the Reaper Express, a massive space station that served as a key logistics hub for the rebel forces. The attack demonstrated several capabilities that raised questions about the chapter's true nature and origins. First, they demonstrated an ability to navigate through hazardous space that should have been impossible for normal vessels. The approach to Reaper Express required passage through a debris field and sensor-dead zone that had defeated previous Imperial attempts to reach the station. Second, their boarding assault showed tactics and equipment that didn't match any known Space Marine doctrine. They used weapons and techniques that seemed specifically designed for void warfare in ways that suggested not theoretical training, but practical experience accumulated over centuries. Finally, their withdrawal from the station was accomplished with a level of coordination that impressed Imperial observers. They extracted their forces, valuable intelligence, and selected prisoners with efficiency that suggested this was routine rather than exceptional performance. Recognition and suspicion. The Carcharodons' performance during the Badab War earned them official recognition from Imperial command and established their reputation as elite loyalist forces. However, it also raised questions about their capabilities, methods, and ultimate loyalties. Imperial intelligence began investigating the chapter more closely after the Badab War, attempting to understand how a supposedly young chapter had developed such sophisticated void warfare capabilities. The investigation yielded more questions than answers and was eventually classified at levels that suggest involvement from the highest levels of Imperial authority. Most significantly, several high-ranking Imperial officials began expressing private concerns about the Carcharodons' independence and their potential connections to events and organizations that predated the current Imperial structure. The Ashen Claws connection. One of the most intriguing aspects of Carcharodon lore is their connection to another mysterious Space Marine chapter, the Ashen Claws. These two chapters appear to share not just similar operating methods, but also historical connections that suggest a common origin. The Ashen Claws, like the Carcharodons, operate as nomad predation fleets in the galaxy's outer reaches. They display similar physical adaptations to void life, use comparable tactics, and maintain the same mysterious relationship with Imperial authority. Most significantly, they appear to coordinate their operations in ways that suggest a level of communication and cooperation that normal chapters couldn't maintain. Some theorists believe that the Carcharodons and Ashen Claws are actually two components of a single organization that was deliberately split to avoid attracting Imperial attention. Others suggest they represent different evolutionary branches of the same original founding, adapted to different operational requirements. Shared mysteries. Both chapters share several characteristics that are extremely rare among Space Marines' nomadic fleet operations. Neither chapter maintains a home world or traditional fortress monastery. Void adaptation. Both show physical and psychological adaptations to extended void operations. Ancient equipment. Both fleets contain vessels and equipment that predate standard Imperial technology. Mysterious recruiting. Both practice recruitment methods that don't conform to normal Space Marine protocols. Independent authority. Both operate with a level of independence that suggests special dispensation from the highest levels of Imperial command. These shared characteristics suggest either a common origin or extensive coordination between the chapters. Given the secretive nature of both organizations, determining which is the case has proven impossible for Imperial investigators. The Terran connection. Some evidence suggests that both the Carcharodons and Ashen Claws may have originated on Terra itself, possibly as part of the original legions before they were formally organized and named. This would explain their access to ancient technology, their independence from normal Imperial oversight, and their knowledge of tactics and strategies that predate current doctrine. If this theory is correct, both chapters might represent remnants of the Emperor's original vision for the Space Marines, elite forces designed to operate independently in the galaxy's most dangerous regions, answerable only to the highest levels of Imperial authority. Tyberos the Red Wake, the Shark that Walks, the Chapter Master Mystery. At the heart of all speculation about the Carcharodons stands their Chapter Master, known simply as Tyberos the Red Wake. This figure represents perhaps the greatest mystery in an organization already shrouded in secrets. Everything about Tyberos suggests that he is far more than just another Space Marine commander. First, there's his size. Tyberos is described as being significantly larger than normal Space Marines, approaching the scale of a Primarch. His armor, known as Hunger and Slake, appears to be of unique construction and incorporates technology that doesn't match any known patterns. Most significantly, his combat capabilities seem to exceed what should be possible for even the most enhanced Space Marine. The Terminator Plate anomaly. Tyberos's armor presents one of the most intriguing pieces of evidence about his true nature. Standard Terminator armor, while providing exceptional protection and strength enhancement, is still ultimately human-scaled technology designed for enhanced human physiology. Tyberos's armor, however, appears to be something else entirely. It's larger than standard Terminator Plate, incorporates weapon systems that don't match any known patterns, and seems to interface with its wearer in ways that suggest either unique design or significant modification to accommodate non-standard physiology. Most intriguingly, the armor shows signs of extreme age and wear that suggest it has been in use far longer than the Carcharodons have supposedly existed as a chapter. Some Imperial tech adepts who have examined images of the armor believe it may predate the Horus heresy itself. Combat capabilities, beyond the norm. Reports of Tyberos in combat describe capabilities that seem to exceed what should be possible for any Space Marine, even one with exceptional augmentations and equipment. He demonstrates strength levels that approach those described in Legends of the Primarchs, tactical awareness that suggests superhuman intelligence, and most disturbingly, an apparent ability to inspire fear in other Space Marines. During the Badab War, loyalist Space Marines from other chapters reported feeling distinctly uncomfortable in Tyberos's presence, describing an aura of predatory menace that seemed to trigger instinctive fight-or-flight responses even in conditioned Astartes warriors. Most significantly, enemy forces that have faced Tyberos in combat often report that he seems to know their tactics and capabilities before the battle begins, as if he possessed centuries of experience fighting similar foes. The Primarch theory. The most explosive theory about Tiberos is that he may actually be one of the lost Primarchs, either the 2nd or 11th, who has been operating in secret for 10,000 years under a false identity. This theory is supported by several pieces of circumstantial evidence. Physical scale. Tiberos's size and combat capabilities match descriptions of Primarchs better than enhanced Space Marines. Ancient equipment. His armor and weapons appear to predate the formal establishment of the Space Marine chapters. Tactical genius. His strategic and tactical capabilities suggest the kind of superhuman intelligence associated with the Primarchs. Mysterious origins. The complete absence of reliable information about his background or appointment as chapter master. Imperial protection. The level of Imperial tolerance for Carcharodon independence suggests protection from the highest levels of authority. Alternative theories. While the Primarch theory is compelling, several alternatives have been proposed. Enhanced space. Marine. Tiberos could be the result of experimental enhancement procedures, possibly using recovered Great Crusade technology or gene seed from multiple sources. Dreadnought integration. Some theorists suggest that Tiberos might be a unique hybrid of living space marine and dreadnought technology, explaining his size and apparent longevity. Warp entity. The most exotic theory suggests that Tiberos might be some form of loyal warp entity that has taken physical form, explaining his superhuman capabilities and apparent agelessness. Clone or reconstruction. He could be a clone or reconstruction of a lost Primarch, created using recovered genetic material and advanced biotechnology. The Lost Legion connection. The evidence for pre-heresy origins. Several pieces of evidence suggest that the Carcharodons may be directly connected to one of the two lost legions, the 2nd or 11th, whose records were deliberately expunged from Imperial history. Technology. The Carcharodons possess technology and equipment that predates the formal establishment of Space Marine chapters, suggesting origins that go back to the Great Crusade era. Tactics. Their tactical doctrine shows sophisticated understanding of warfare methods that were developed during the Great Crusade, but largely abandoned after the heresy. Independence. Their level of operational independence suggests special status that would only be granted to organizations with direct connections to the Emperor's original vision. Secrecy. The deliberate obscuration of their origins mirrors the systematic erasure of information about the lost legions. The purge that wasn't. Imperial records suggest that the 2nd and 11th legions were not simply destroyed, but were forgotten in a way that suggests their members might have been reassigned or repurposed rather than eliminated. The Carcharodons could represent survivors of this process, reorganized and deployed to the galaxy's fringes, where their origins could be safely hidden. This theory would explain several of the chapter's unique characteristics: their advanced age and experience levels, their access to pre-heresy technology and tactics, their special relationship with Imperial authority, the systematic obscuration of their origins, their nomadic nature designed to avoid scrutiny, the Emperor's hidden purpose. If the Carcharodons are indeed remnants of a lost legion, their continued existence suggests that the Emperor had purposes for them that required their survival in secret. Their deployment to the galaxy's outer reaches could represent a long-term strategic vision that required maintaining forces beyond the reach of potential corruption or political interference. This would position the Carcharodons not as a normal Space Marine chapter, but as a strategic reserve force, maintained in secret for purposes that may only now be becoming clear as the galaxy faces unprecedented threats. Modern operations, predators in the new millennium, the current fleet. The Carcharodons' nomad predation fleet has evolved considerably since their earliest recorded appearances. Intelligence reports suggest they now operate multiple battle groups simultaneously, allowing them to maintain presence in several sectors of the galaxy's outer reaches. Their current fleet composition includes the Nikor, their ancient flagship, heavily modified and of uncertain original class, battle barges, multiple capital ships of various ages and configurations, strike cruisers, fast attack vessels optimized for hit-and-run operations, support vessels, a complex logistics train that allows extended independent operations, unknown assets, several vessel types that don't match any known Imperial classifications, recruitment and sustainment. One of the ongoing mysteries about the Carcharodons is how they maintain their numbers given their nomadic lifestyle and lack of traditional recruitment worlds. Their tithe of flesh practice provides part of the answer, but the full picture remains unclear. Evidence suggests they may recruit from multiple sources void-born populations from deep space installations, survivors of battles they've fought in, individuals taken as part of their mysterious tithe, possibly even recruitment from non-Imperial human populations in the galaxy's outer reaches. Current threats and operations. Recent reports place Carcharodon forces operating against a variety of threats in the galaxy's outer reaches. Tyranid advance elements, scouting forces from various hive fleets attempting to establish forward positions. Chaos renegades, traitor forces using the galaxy's edges as staging areas for raids into Imperial space. Xenos pirates, various alien raiders who prey on isolated Imperial outposts. Orc freebooters, greenskin forces operating beyond the reach of Major Wa. Movements, unknown threats. Several reports mention Carcharodon operations against enemies that Imperial intelligence cannot identify. The Great Rift impact. The opening of the Great Rift has significantly impacted Carcharodon operations, both creating new threats and new opportunities. The cosmic catastrophe has opened new routes through previously impassable regions of space, created instabilities that threaten isolated Imperial outposts, attracted new types of threats to the galaxy's outer reaches, potentially provided the Carcharodons with new recruiting opportunities from displaced populations. Theories and speculation. The Rangdan connection. Some of the most intriguing theories about the Carcharodons connect them to the mysterious Rangdan genocides, a series of campaigns during the Great Crusade that were so catastrophic they required the deployment of multiple Space Marine legions and resulted in massive casualties. Official records of the Rangdan genocides are heavily classified, but what little information is available suggests that the threat was so severe it required extreme measures to contain. Some theorists believe that the lost legions were actually destroyed or fundamentally changed during these campaigns, with the survivors being reorganized into new formations to hide the extent of the damage. The Carcharodons' specialization in fighting unknown threats, their comfort operating in the galaxy's most dangerous regions, and their apparent experience with non-standard warfare all support the theory that they might be survivors of the Rangdan campaigns, adapted and repurposed for ongoing operations against similar threats. The Pale Wasting. Another theory connects the Carcharodons' physical transformation to a condition known as the Pale Wasting, a mysterious affliction that supposedly affects Space Marines who spend too long in the deep void. However, medical analysis suggests that their condition is not a disease, but an adaptation, possibly engineered. This raises the possibility that the Carcharodons were deliberately modified to operate in environments that would be lethal to normal space marines. Such modification would require technology and genetic expertise that was available during the Great Crusade, but has been largely lost in the current era. The Nomad Protocols. Some Imperial scholars theorize that the Carcharodons operate under what they call Nomad Protocols, secret orders that date back to the Emperor himself and authorize independent operations beyond normal Imperial oversight. These protocols would explain their operational independence, their access to restricted equipment and information, Imperial tolerance for their unusual practices, their apparent authority to operate beyond normal territorial boundaries. If such protocols exist, they would suggest that the Carcharodons serve purposes that transcend normal Space Marine chapter operations, possibly as part of long-term strategic plans that span millennia. The darker implications. What they really hunt. While official reports describe the Carcharodons as elite forces operating against conventional threats in the galaxy's outer reaches, some evidence suggests their true mission might be far more complex and disturbing. Several patterns in their operations suggest they may be hunting things that Imperial authorities don't want to acknowledge. Pre-human artifacts, ancient technology, or entities that predate human expansion into the galaxy. Escaped experiments, products of dark age of technology, research that were never properly contained. Extragalactic threats, advance elements of forces from beyond the galaxy's borders. Temporal anomalies, threats that exist outside normal space-time and require specialized countermeasures. The price of their service. The Carcharodons' effectiveness comes at a cost that may be higher than Imperial authorities are willing to acknowledge. Their transformation from recognizably human space marines into something alien and predatory raises questions about the price of their service. If the theories about their origins are correct, the Carcharodons may represent what happens when space marines are pushed beyond their intended limits, successful as warriors, but at the cost of their humanity. They may be effective servants of the Imperium, but they're no longer recognizably part of the human species they're supposed to protect. The question of loyalty. Perhaps the most disturbing question about the Carcharodons concerns their ultimate loyalty. While they've never shown signs of rebellion or corruption, their independence and alien nature raise questions about what they would do if their interests diverged from the Imperium's. Their apparent indifference to normal human concerns, their willingness to take individuals without explanation, and their comfort operating beyond Imperial oversight all suggest that they serve something other than conventional Imperial authority. Whether that's the Emperor's true will, some ancient protocol, or their own alien agenda remains unknown. The necessary monsters. Fellow lore seekers, as we conclude this deep dive into the mysteries of the Carcharodons Astra, we're left with perhaps the most complex and morally ambiguous Space Marine chapter in the entire Imperium. Here are warriors who may have transcended their humanity in service of a greater purpose. Predators who hunt in the darkness so that others might sleep safely in the light. The Carcharodons represent something unique in Warhammer 40,000, Space Marines who have become genuinely alien while remaining loyal to the Imperium. They are what happens when the Emperor's angels of death are pushed to their absolute limits and beyond, transformed into something that serves humanity, while no longer being recognizably human itself. The price of protection. Whether the theories about their origins are true or not, the Carcharodons embody one of the setting's central themes, the price of survival in a hostile universe. They are effective precisely because they have abandoned the human concerns that might limit their effectiveness. They can do what needs to be done because they no longer care about the cost in human terms. This makes them simultaneously admirable and terrifying. They are proof that the Imperium can create forces capable of protecting humanity from its worst enemies, but they also demonstrate that such protection may require abandoning the very humanity being protected. The enduring mystery. The true nature of the Carcharodons, their origins, their leadership, their ultimate purpose, may never be fully revealed. In many ways, the mystery is more powerful than any definitive answer could be. They exist in the space between legend and reality, between loyal service and alien indifference, between protection and predation. Whether Tyberos is a lost Primarch, an enhanced Space Marine, or something else entirely, he and his chapter serve as reminders that the galaxy contains mysteries that predate the current Imperium and serve purposes that transcend normal understanding. They are living proof that the Emperor's vision was larger and stranger than most Imperial citizens could comprehend. The future of the hunt. As the galaxy enters a new age of crisis, with the opening of the Great Rift and the return of Primarchs, the role of mysterious chapters like the Carcharodons becomes ever more important. The threats facing humanity may require protectors who operate beyond normal moral and operational constraints, predators who can hunt the hunters in the darkness between the stars. The Carcharodons have spent 10,000 years perfecting their role as the Imperium's monsters. As the galaxy faces its greatest challenges, we may discover that we need our monsters more than ever, even if we can no longer recognize them as our own. Thank you for joining the Lore Lord for this comprehensive exploration of one of Warhammer 40,000's most mysterious and fascinating Space Marine chapters. The Carcharodons represent some of the darkest and most complex themes in the setting, challenging our understanding of loyalty, humanity, and the price of protection. What do you think about the theories surrounding Tyberos and the chapter's origins? Do you believe they're remnants of a lost legion, or something else entirely? And perhaps, most importantly, are they still recognizably the Emperor's loyal servants? Or have they become something alien that merely serves similar purposes? Let me know your thoughts and theories in the comments below. The mystery of the Carcharodons is one that may never be fully solved, but every perspective adds to our understanding of these enigmatic predators. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the void dwellers of the 41st millennium, make sure to subscribe for more explorations of Warhammer 40,000's darkest corners. Hit that notification bell to stay updated on all the latest lore investigations, and remember, in the cold dark between the stars, something is always watching. This is the Lore Lord, signing off from the edge of known space. Keep seeking the lore, keep questioning what it means to serve humanity, and remember, sometimes the monsters we create to protect us become the very thing we need protection from.